What are some extremely memorable moments on stage for you?
My most memorable was when I was in high school, playing a Brahms clarinet sonata. I was performing, and all of a sudden I felt completely different. And something happened within that performance that I'll never forget. And that was the moment I said, well, I'm going to do this until I succeed. Yeah. And whenever I had not so good moments, which we all have, you know, sometimes things are not getting better right away, you get upset and you get discouraged. Then I refer my feelings to that day that I had on the performance, and it gives me encouragement.
For me, the only way I can explain it is complete presence, almost kind of blending in with everything around me. It's incredible. I've never found a way to turn that on and off, though. It just happens sometimes. Yeah.
I wish we can turn it on.
Right. I get kind of intense, though. It was just on all the time. So do you have any humiliating moments that were on stage? Just something super embarrassing happened, or you just really screwed up and you've just felt so awful, and you kind of look back on it now and it's funny, or it was a tool that you've used to develop as a musician?
Yeah, I've had moments where I had terrible memory slips, and those are always horrifying because all of a sudden you've blacked out. You don't remember what's next. And you're in front of an audience, you know.
You weren't drunk or anything?
Oh, no.
No.
So those moments are always scary. Mm-hmm. And but luckily they all happened when I was a kid, and kind of made me realize that no matter what happens, you have to move forward. So from a young age, I learned that if it happens, you gotta move on and improvise something on the spot, or just move forward. Don't let it drag you down. But it's scary when it happens.
So did you not have music on stage with you, or
No, when I was a kid, I was required to always perform by memory.
Okay.
That was just what my teacher was telling me. You would not perform unless you don't have a music. So I always had to memorize things, which I appreciate now. It was hard at the beginning, but once you get used to it, it trains you and trains your brain to be on the sharper side.
Getting on stage is one of the hardest things for a lot of people.
Yeah.
What do you tell people when they're nervous?
Yeah, we all go through this stage where you have to learn how to control your nerves. And to today's date, I get nervous, and we all do, because that's, you know, natural. So when I auditioned for the Colburn School, it's the hardest school to get in for clarinet, and usually they only take 1 or 2 people, depends on the numbers. And the year I applied, they had 2 openings. So I played my audition, and you compete against kids from around the world. So, and it's, if you get in, it's completely free, and you study with the best teacher. So it's very selective. So when I played my audition, then I had a callback. He calls back a couple of people that he liked. I think there were about 5 people who had callbacks. And then I remember he asked me a question. You were very nervous, weren't you? I said, yeah, I was really nervous. He said, that's good, that's what I like, because that means you care. So I remember that phrase from my old teacher, and from there it's just, you know, it's natural. As long as you know how to control it. And if you're to the point that you're super nervous, you can't control it, you just think about making music and not what's going to come out. You're trying to satisfy yourself and not others.
Yeah, going back to that, I was just going to say. So it's almost channeling that nervous energy into the music.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are just wanting to start but worried about what other people are going to think?
Yeah, the advice is to, as I was always taught, to not worry about what other people think.
But how do you do that?
You train your core within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard. You'll always be criticized. But take it as a good point to move forward. It's hard to do, but you can do it and you can go through it. Because I've been in it and I've seen it and I went through it. And once I changed my mentality, all of a sudden things started just work. Yeah. You should always please yourself, because if you're pleased, then you've done the work and you've put in your soul. You shouldn't worry about if it comes out and not pleasing others. I think if you're pleased, you're going to touch someone. And maybe 1,000 people are not going to like it, but one of them will love it. And that's what we go for it.
It's interesting how actually a lot of musicians have that mindset, that actually then that's what propels them to be able to play with groups like the Seattle Symphony, is the fact that they actually don't care as much about how the audience is going to take their art.
Yeah. And as a musician, you will play in groups where your feelings are not welcomed. You will feel it. Whatever you're doing, you're playing a solo in ensemble, and people, you can feel your colleagues are not touched by it. And then you know you're in the wrong place. And I feel like from day one, when I played in Seattle Symphony, I just feel like myself. You know, I don't have to search around and please people, because people welcome what you're doing. And if you end up not in the right place, I'd strongly recommend keep going, and because things will open up and you'll end up in the right place.
Yeah, no reason to force it.
No.